Welcome back to Investing Talk podcast. Today, we're taking a focused look at Rivian Automotive. You've shared a collection of recent reports and analyses with us, and our goal here is to really distill what's most important for you, our listeners, to understand right now.
That sounds good. There's definitely been some movement.
Absolutely. We'll be covering, recent developments, how the market's reacting, the broader industry picture, potential risks, opportunities, and even touch on what might be driving the stock price lately. Think of this as your briefing on Rivian as of, well, late April 2025.
Okay. Where should we start?
Let's begin by unpacking some of Rivian's recent key activities. There was an interesting addition to the board, wasn't there?
Yes. On April 21st, Aidan Gomez joined the board. He's a co-founder of Cohere, an AI research company.
Cohere. Okay, so AI focused. What does that signal, do you think?
Well, it strongly suggests, it's pretty clear they're prioritizing artificial intelligence more heavily, probably for their vehicle software, maybe autonomous driving systems down the line.
Right. Leveraging AI expertise seems critical these days.
It really does. It
Right.
could lead to, much more sophisticated interfaces, maybe better driver assist features, things that help them stand out in that premium EV space.
Makes sense. Now, switching gears a bit, production and delivery numbers for Q1 2025, what did we see there?
So they produced 14,611 vehicles and delivered 8,640.
And those numbers were actually better than their own targets, right?
Correct. They beat their internal targets. And importantly, they also reaffirmed their full-year delivery guidance. That's 46,000 to 51,000 vehicles for the year.
Okay, so exceeding production targets. What does that tell us operationally? Is this a sign they're getting scaling under control?
Certainly an encouraging sign. It suggests they're making headway, maybe overcoming some of those early manufacturing hurdles. Scaling up is always tough. Maintain that full-year outlook alongside the beat points towards perhaps better operational efficiency or more stable supply chain, at least for Q1.
But you noted deliveries were lower than production. 8,640 delivered versus over 14,000 produced.
Yes, that's the gap. Does it hint at a demand issue? Or is it more of a logistical challenge, just getting cars to customers? That's something to watch.
Definitely something to watch. And speaking of watching dates, May 6th is the Q1 earnings release.
That's right. They have a webcast scheduled too. They'll talk operational progress, but also cost reduction efforts.
Cost reduction is key for them. So what specifically will you be listening for on that earnings call?
Well, the big one for me is gross margins. Are they making progress towards positive territory? Right now, they spend more to build each vehicle than they sell it for. That needs to change.
That negative gross margin is a persistent issue.
It is. So progress there is vital. Also be looking at their cost-cutting details, where are they finding savings, and of course, their cash burn rate. How quickly are they going through cash?
And revenue figures, naturally.
Naturally. Need to see how the top line looks alongside everything else.
Okay, let's pivot to the market reaction. Leading up to April 15th, the stock was up about 11% over 5 days.
Roughly, yes. A decent little run.
But then, on April 15th itself, it was basically flat. Down just slightly, minus 0.29%. The reports mentioned tariff concerns possibly playing a role.
That seems plausible. Tariff concerns, especially around Chinese components like batteries, create uncertainty for EV makers. Even with U.S. manufacturing efforts, tariffs can inflate costs.
So that uncertainty weighs on investor sentiment.
It often does, yes. It raises questions about future profitability, impacts valuations. That flatness on the 15th, despite the earlier gain, it kind of shows how sensitive the stock can be to those wider economic or political factors.
Looking a bit longer term, the stock gained about 18% over the 6 months prior to this recent period.
Right. There was some positive momentum over that medium term.
Yet, year to date, it's still down around 9.4%. Why this volatility? Good production news, but still down overall for the year so far.
Well, that's pretty typical for a growth company in a really capital-intensive industry like automotive. The 6-month gain probably reflects optimism about production and potential. The year-to-date loss, though, that could be broader market jitters, ongoing worries about their path to profit, the cash burn we mentioned, or maybe just the market adjusting expectations for the whole EV sector. It fluctuates.
And the analysts seem divided, too. Bernstein remains bearish, citing tariffs again. Needham, though, raised their target to $17 after Q4 revenue numbers. The average is around $13.69.
That spread in analyst views really tells the story, doesn't it? It highlights the uncertainty.
How so?
The bearish view focuses squarely on the risks, financial sustainability, tariffs, competition. The more bullish take, like Needham's, probably gives more weight to the growth potential, the revenue figures, the brand appeal.
And the average target is somewhere in the middle, acknowledging both sides.
Exactly. It suggests Wall Street sees the potential, but is also quite aware of the significant hurdles Rivian still faces. It's not a clear-cut buy or sell for many, it seems.
Let's talk industry context. Rivian beating production targets is happening while the broader EV market, it's seeing some shifts, right? Maybe some softening in demand for premium EVs.
There are signs of that, yes.
Hmm.
The initial surge in high-end EV demand might be leveling off a bit. But interestingly, there's growing momentum in fleet electrification.
And Rivian's Amazon partnership fits right into that.
Perfectly. That's a prime example. Having a large committed customer like Amazon buying your electric delivery vans provides a really valuable baseline of demand.
How important is that fleet side for Rivian's strategy long term?
I'd say it's quite significant. The consumer market can be fickle, tied to economic cycles. Fleet deals, especially big ones like Amazon's, offer more stability, predictability. It helps with production planning, economies of scale, potentially improving those margins over time. It's a strong foundation.
Meanwhile, competitors aren't standing still. We see leadership hires from places like Tesla suggesting everyone's focusing hard on operational efficiency.
Absolutely. The pressure's on across the board.
And this puts Rivian not just against other EV startups, but increasingly against the legacy automakers who are now seriously investing in EVs too. How does Rivian fit in this crowded field?
They do have a distinct brand, sort of adventure focused in that direct-to-consumer model that helps differentiate them.
Yeah.
But yeah, the competition is fierce from Tesla, from Ford, GM, all the global players entering the EV space. Rivian's success really depends on continuing to innovate, scaling efficiently, controlling costs, and keeping that brand strong. It's a tough neighborhood.
Let's dig into the specific risks and opportunities mentioned in the sources. A big risk.
Yeah.
Those potential Trump-era tariffs on Chinese battery components.
Yes, that keeps coming up. Even with U.S. manufacturing, they might still rely on certain components or material sourced from China, making them vulnerable. It could definitely inflate their costs.
And that ties back to the other major risk, the negative gross margins. Made spent $1.2 billion reported for fiscal year 2024. How worried should investors be about that number?
Investors should be quite focused on it, I'd say. While losses aren't unexpected for a company ramping up, that scale selling vehicles for significantly less than they cost to build isn't sustainable long term. Getting those margins positive through efficiency, cost cuts, maybe pricing is absolutely critical. The tariff issue just makes that harder.
Okay, let's look at the flip side. Opportunities. The AI expertise brought in with Aiden Gomez, that seems like a potential game changer.
It really could be. If they can leverage that AI knowledge effectively, it could lead to superior driver assist systems, better user experiences, a real technological edge.
A differentiator, as you said earlier.
Exactly. And the other big opportunity is that Amazon partnership we discussed. Stable, significant demand for their commercial vans.
How crucial are these opportunities, the AI focus and the Amazon deal, in balancing out those risks we just talked about?
They are incredibly important. The AI angle addresses the need for technological leadership and innovation. The Amazon deal provides a degree of financial and operational stability. They're essential counterweights to the financial pressures and competitive threats. Investors are likely looking at whether these opportunities are strong enough to overcome the challenges.
Now, the sources didn't flag major social media trends right now, but you mentioned listeners could check places like Reddit or X with the hashtag.
Right. Real-time sentiment is always worth monitoring, though it can be noisy. Use hashtags like RIVN, check forums like the Rivian subreddit if you want that ground-level chatter.
And there was some unconfirmed speculation about potential tech partnerships, maybe building on that AI appointment.
Yes, unconfirmed, but it makes sense strategically.
What kind of partnerships would seem logical for Rivian at this stage?
Given the AI push, partnerships with companies specializing in, say, autonomous driving software, advanced sensor tech, or maybe even data analytics and mapping could be very beneficial. It could help them accelerate development without having to build absolutely everything in-house, which is costly and time-consuming.
Okay, let's try to tie some threads together. The recent positive stock movement, the sources suggest it's a mix of things.
It seems that way, yes.
Uh-huh.
The positive factors likely include 1. The production beat showing resilience. 2. The strategic AI board appointment addressing tech potential. And 3. Maybe some broader optimism in the EV sector, perhaps linked to incentives, though that wasn't explicit in these reports.
But it's crucial to remember the brakes on that optimism, right? The tariffs and the margin pressures.
Absolutely. Those are acting as a kind of cap on the upside for now. The market seems to be rewarding the operational progress and strategic moves, but it's still cautious because of the underlying financial challenges and external risks.
So, to sum it up for our listeners, Rivian seems to be making progress on production, making strategic tech moves with the board appointment.
But they still face significant financial hurdles, namely getting to positive gross margins and operate in a very tough competitive market.
And that May 6th earnings call becomes even more important then. It should give crucial insights into their progress on profitability and cost reduction.
Definitely a date to mark on the calendar for anyone following the company.
Which really raises a key question for you, the listener, to think about. How will Rivian manage that balancing act, pushing for growth, while needing to achieve sustainable profitability in this really dynamic and competitive EV landscape?
That's the core challenge they face.
We encourage you to look deeper on Rivian's own investor relations page and keep following financial news outlets for updates, especially after that earnings release. If you found this exploration helpful, please do subscribe, like, and leave us a comment. Your feedback helps us shape future analyses around what you want to hear about. Thanks for joining us for this look at Rivian.